What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of Triple Threat Talk. I'm your host, Connor Ryan. Today's episode, we are going to be covering some of the games that happened on Wednesday. I'm going to preview tonight's game between the Jazz and the Mavs. We're going to go through some of the Instagram questions that you guys asked me on @TalkinTriple on Instagram. And I'm also going to give you my picks for Friday night's NBA Cup. So with some gambling advice in there as well. I don't gamble, but if you do, here you are. I know some of you guys do, but again, these are just my thoughts. I don't come at me. Okay. We're going to start it off with the Celtics because that is my team. If you want to know my full thoughts about a Celtics game, please go check out Triple Threat Talk blog. It's triple-threat-talk.com. I give full rundown, my full thoughts on the games there. Also, some of the primetime games. I will be doing that for the Jazz and the Mavs game tonight. Celtics have had a big bounce back performance against the Nets in Brooklyn. Really bad game against the Hawks on Tuesday. And the Celtics knew it. JB addressed in his presser that he and JT have to be better. They accounted for 11 of the 20 turnovers. The Celtics also gave up 20 offensive boards to grabbing their own 6. I think they gave up 19 second chance points, which isn't going to win you ball games. What did they do? They came out, they kicked Brooklyn's ass 139-114, and Jalen and JT combined for 1 turnover. Jalen had 24 and 12. Not the best shooting night, but still kind of finding his rhythm again. But JT led the way. 36 points, 9 rebounds. 36 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists on 63% shooting and 5 of 6 from 3. This is when Jason is his most effective. I understand that he is a very effective 3-point shooter at times. I feel like there are times where he's just shooting to shoot, trying to help the Celtics get out of a funk, but it is when he is able to play make in space that he is his best. My favorite actions that I would see where Pritchard would have the ball, screener would be JT, and JT would catch it and right above the free throw line, and he would have Derek White and Drew Holiday, or Derek White and Jalen, or vice versa, whoever, propped up in the corner with either Keita or Cornette as the big, and he could just say, all right, I'm going to react to what the defense gives me. If they aren't going to come at me, I have a 15-foot mid-range. If they're going to drive it, or if they're going to blitz me, then boom, I can dish it to somebody in the corner for an easy 3. And if the backside help man, the big man, decides to try and prevent the floater or the layup attempt, then I'm going to lob it to Cornette or Keita. And that is the effectiveness of Jason Tatum. He's able to provide this value that most people, overlook. He really is a great playmaker. He really is able to provide a lot more than just scoring for the Celtics. And it's great to see, and I think that's what works so well with the Boston Celtics is we only really have one true point guard on our team that gets rotational minutes, and that's Peyton Pritchard, who we'll get to in a minute. But Derek White, Drew Holiday are 2 combo guards that have the versatility to play against bigger defenders and to go against bigger matchups. Why is that? Because they are 2 of the best defenders on the planet. And that makes switching ability on the defensive end very easy. And same with Jalen and Jason, 2 very versatile defenders who have speed to defend guards, but also the size and the strength to go against a bigger player. And while Cornette and Keita obviously aren't as versatile, they still have the ability to defend on the perimeter, but also to just buy enough time for the switch to happen. And it's just like that on the offensive end. Sure, Keita and Cornette can't really shoot, but Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Sam Hauser. Those are 7 or 8 guys that I just named that can shoot the ball rather effectively and very well. And they do it at such a high rate that it's incredibly hard to stop them. They are on pace to I think, have 55 3-point attempts per game. That is more than 1 per minute, which is crazy. We've never seen that in NBA history. I think the Celtics broke the record last year of I want to say it was the Rockets record from like their 2018-2019 season, and the Celtics are doing it at an even more enormous pace. And speaking of the 3-ball, Pro-Am Peyton Pritchard, he is making his case to be 6th man of the year, and he is making it well. He didn't have the best game against the Hawks. He realized that. And what does Peyton Pritchard not do? Have 2 bad games in a row. 23 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 62% from the field, 5 of 9 from 3. Peyton Pritchard and Derek White are most effective off the catch and shoot. Derek White has the 4th most attempts off catch and shoot this season, and Peyton Pritchard has the 8th most attempts. Derek White has a 76.1% effective field goal percentage, and Peyton Pritchard has 69.2% effective field goal percentage. Those are 2 of the best, not only just 2 of the best, but they are the 2 best in the top 10 for total attempts. When you get those 2 players in their rhythm, it makes the offense go even better. What does that do? If Pritchard's going, you can't sag off of him and let JT get to the lane, or you can't sag off of Pritch and then go double JT because he's going to find Pritchard. Once Pritchard gets going, that's going to open up the floor for Jason Tatum. What's he going to do? Somebody else is going to have to come help. Boom, get them going. If it's Derek White's defender, boom, that's money. This is where the Boston Celtics play Boston Celtic basketball. Gritty, switchable, versatile defense to high quality, quick, fast ball movement to open shots. They haven't been hitting their shots. They did it last night, and we saw the damage that they can do against a formidable team. Now, sure, it's the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not talking about the Golden State Warriors. I'm not talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, some of these better defensive teams. But the Celtics just need to figure out their starts. They need to figure out how to, get the pace of play going early and find their rhythm. In the home game against Brooklyn, down 16-2 to start the game. In the away game against Milwaukee, down 16-2 to start the game. In the game against the Nets this game, I think it was either 16-5 or 17-6, down 11 in the first quarter. After that, the Celtics are finding their way. They're finding their rhythm. They're getting back to the brand of basketball that they know and can achieve. And that's going to work. But it's the versatility that keeps them in check. Derek White is one of the best defensive guards in the league. And it's not just because of his on-ball defense. It's because of his shot blocking ability. He blocked Zaire Williams at the rim last night, who is 6'8" or 6'9". Derek White is 6'2" or 6'3". There is no reason somebody should be able to do that. Who can? Derek fucking White, because he is the GOAT. Excuse my French. The Celtics are finding their rhythm. They finally get a little bit of a break. They get a 2-day break before playing their next game on Saturday. If you really want to know my full thoughts, again, go check the blog. Also, I'm on Twitter at Talkin' Triple. I'm posting my thoughts in game and talking about what I'm liking, what I'm seeing, what I'm not liking, what I'm not really seeing that well. But the Celtics are finding their way again. I think the Hawks was a big wake-up call in terms of mental toughness, in terms of mentality. They're getting back into it. And I think they're getting back into it at the right time. As much as I was frustrated with the Hawks loss, I think it was more so just because we were playing the Hawks without Trae Young, who I will get to in a little bit with some of the Instagram questions. But they are like, an NBA team is an NBA team for a reason. They're good. Majority of them are well coached. Majority of them are going to have players who can play basketball pretty well. It's the whole Brian Scalabrine quote. I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me. And we see that on a daily basis. There are going to be games where you're like, wow, I would not have guessed them. They would have beat them. And then there are going to be games where you're like, okay, that was the most chalk game I've ever seen. And that's just how the NBA is. Unfortunately, Jason Tatum did not have the best performance of the night. It was a Greek man up in Milwaukee who had 59 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks on 62% shooting. Name Giannis Antetokounmpo. The top 3 in the world right now are pretty simple. It is Nikola Jokic 1, and then the next 2 are interchangeable of 2 and 3, and it's Jason Tatum or Giannis Antetokounmpo. I will probably have Giannis at 2, only because of just how long and freakish he is. Sure, in terms of a scorer, I would rather have Tatum. As a playmaker, I would rather have Tatum. But in terms of finishing ability, in terms of defending, in terms of rebounding, I would rather have Giannis. Which, so some people might call me crazy, but I don't think it's uber crazy to really say that. But how the Bucks got away with a win like this is pretty ridiculous. Ron Holland, who is a rookie, missed 2 free throws at the end of the game that would have sealed it up. If he makes those, then the Pistons are going into their next game against the Raptors with a whole lot more momentum. They're going into it with a lot more confidence, especially defeating a divisional opponent, especially defeating a team like Milwaukee in Milwaukee. The Bucks are finding their rhythm. They have 2 straight wins, and I get it. They're against the Raptors and the Pistons. But wins are wins. It doesn't matter who you play in the NBA. Teams are going to be good. And especially if you are in a slump like the Bucks are currently, you got to be able to pick up the wins. And that's what they did. Giannis scored 22 of the 24 points in the first quarter. No other Buck made a field goal except for Giannis. I think he went 7 of 10 in the first quarter, and Brook Lopez got the other 2 points with 2 free throws. I understand the Bucks have some issues going on, but there is no reason they should be trading Giannis, and I don't think they will. I know I said it a little bit earlier in the season that I wouldn't be shocked if he isn't a part of the Milwaukee Bucks anymore at the end of the season, but I just think that he would die for that city at this point. He's been there for 12 years, I think, at this point, or is his 12th season. He has won 2 MVPs there, a Defensive Player of the Year, a championship, Finals MVP. I think he is going to be with that city and be with that team until he retires. It is just the question of what happens around him. I understand there's a lot of Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham slander, which, albeit deserved, they aren't very, very good coaches as of right now. But if Damian Lillard gets back on track, if the supporting cast of Gary Trent Jr., Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Andre Jackson, AJ Green, if they are able to keep up or just even maintain a rhythm, then I think the Bucks will be back to being a dangerous team. I know a lot of people are counting them out of the playoffs already, which I'll say it is pretty dumb, pretty ridiculous. There's a lot of season left, and you can't count a team out after 12 games. So I think they're 4-8 right now, maybe 5-8, 4-9. I don't know, but the Bucks are going to make a push for sure, and it's going to come from Giannis. He had a career game, and if he is able to play with that energy, then no doubt that they are going to be a contending team in the East. I don't know if they'll be a top 4 team, but a contender for sure. Speaking of contender, the New York Knicks, what happened? Best starting 5 in the league? Bobby Marks, you idiot. Respectfully, of course. Karl-Anthony Towns, though, 46 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 60% shooting, 50% from 3 on 12 attempts. That is pretty good. Can't go down that much in that early against the Chicago Bulls. They dug a hole too deep, and they decided to bury themselves. Josh Hart fouled Kobe White with, I think it was like a couple seconds remaining to allow Kobe White to have 3 free throw attempts. Granted, made all 3, so can't really fault him on that. But a lot of people are questioning: was it a foul? I think it was a little bit of contact on the back end, but I know Knicks fans are going to argue that. But it is what it is. The game is over. You got to move on. I don't know how Brunson missed that. And not in terms of he was wide open. That ball was literally in the net. It rimmed in and rimmed out, stood on the ledge, and then just fell off. Mike Breen literally goes, "It's good." Oh no, it rims out. Like, he literally thought the game was over by Jalen Brunson making it. And that would have been a huge win. Because if you walk away from that game, a big comeback win, like a huge comeback win, being down 20 plus points in the Garden with a rocking Knicks crowd, and you are able to have the resilience and say, "Hey, this starting five is able to will us back into games," and say, "We can play with anybody." But you can't go down that early. You can't expect to just magically be back in this game and win. I know I'm talking about the Knicks, but the Bulls deserve their credit. Zach LaVine was a 80+% field goal shooter, or just from the field last night. Nikola Vucevic had 20 and 10. Kobe White was scoring very effectively. Even Patrick Williams. All right, like, Patrick Williams is responding to the criticism that I was giving him. Deserved? Yes. But if he's able to have more performances like he did on Wednesday night, then the Bulls are going to be back in a solid position. But do I think the Bulls will last? No. I really do think the best thing for their franchise right now is to move on from Vucevic and LaVine. It really is. You can get assets, you can get trade value. We've seen the value you can get. Mikal Bridges. But it's just the aspect of, when do you move them? I would say Vucevic should be the first thing moved, because he's playing at an exceptional level. I think he's like pretty much averaging a clean 20 and 10. And that's great to see. I had doubts in regards to, I don't know if Vucevic will be like that effective this season. Like, I don't really, like, I literally was saying, like, for weeks before I even started the first episode. And I know I kind of went back on it in the first episode, but I literally was talking to myself and I was just saying, I don't think Vucevic is really adapting. And then I looked at the stats and I decided, I'm wrong. And he has just continued to prove me wrong. And that is great to see. But I do think because he is playing at his best right now. And I understand a change of scenery and a change of atmosphere might kind of drastically change that. But if the Bulls want to get their most value out of him, it's got to be soon. And then same with LaVine. LaVine is coming back. We see the player he can be when he's healthy, which is one of the better players, one of the better scorers in the league. And if we can't acknowledge that, and if he doesn't get on a contender, then they're just wasting years away. So, Jerry Reinsdorf, do the right thing. Simple as that. I think it's Reinsdorf. I don't know. Go Bulls. Sorry for the water. Next game, OKC. They decided, Mark Davignol decided, we don't need a center. We got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We got Jalen Williams as our center. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, tallest player on the court for the Thunder last night, or in the starting lineup, at 6'6". Jalen Williams said, "I will be the center," and he backed it up big. 31 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks. Shai pitched in, 29 points, 5 boards, 5 assists. They have the highest net rating in the league, the best defensive rating, I think, by, I want to say, like 3 points maybe. And it's the defense that is going to help them win games. And obviously, when Chet inevitably returns, when Isaiah Hartenstein gets some action, and when he gets healthy, and when the other Jalen Williams comes in, then I think they are going to really elevate to the next level. Props to the Thunder, man. They are a scrappy, fun, young group of players to watch, and it's always entertaining. Now, I know a lot of people will say Shai, SGA's foul baiting is pretty annoying, which it is. I'm not going to deny. But it's just how basketball is. James Harden did it. That's how James Harden kind of won an MVP, was because of his ability to create contact and forced you to foul him, and it worked. And now a lot of people are mirroring that play style. And SGA is one of the best creators of fouls in the league. So at least he doesn't flop like Embiid, but I'll deal with Philly fans later. A French alien decided to show that he is an alien and dropped 50 points last night, which was pretty cool. 50 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks on 62% shooting, 8 of 16 from 3 for Victor Wembanyama. I love when you get a game of two pretty bad teams like the Spurs and the Wizards, and you get a pretty good game because Jordan Poole said, hey, you are not going to be the only one tonight. Jordan Poole scored 42 points, got 2 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals on 68% shooting, and was 6 of 9 from 3. I'll talk about Poole first before I talk about the Spurs and Wemby. Jordan Poole is deserving recognition and deserving love that he didn't get last year. He seems a lot more comfortable this season. He seems like he actually wants to be on the court and wants to play. But most importantly, he is putting out for DC. Like, he is finding his shot. He's finding his rhythm. And this is where I kind of almost get frustrated with the NBA. And I know it's not the NBA's job to do this, but like, teams should almost have like, hey, this is our guy. This is like who we want marketing to focus on. For the Wizards, it should be Jordan Poole. For like the Hornets, it's LaMelo. For the Spurs, it's Wemby. Trying to think of like I don't even know who you would choose for the Blazers. Like for the Jazz, it should be Walker Kessler. For the Blazers, it should be Shaedon Sharpe. Like you should have the guy where you walk away and like most players or most fans in the league should be like, oh, I know at least one player on this team. I know who that is. Jordan Poole is playing himself back into trade talks. Like, he is playing well. He is playing effectively. He's not just like ball hogging. He's like getting his teammates involved. And the Wizards have a nice little thing cooking up. You know, Bilal Coulibaly, who I've talked about on this podcast before, Bub Carrington, Alex Sarr needs to figure things out, but once he does, then I think he will be pretty solid. But, you know, it's just when Jordan Poole is playing well, it's always good basketball. I think a lot of people really, and this is about the Spurs now, I think a lot of people really undervalued or really undermined the situation that Wemby is in. Obviously, having a coach like Pop, which prayers up to Pop because of the stroke that it was revealed he had at the beginning of the month. I know he's expected to recover, so in our thoughts. But the Spurs, knowing that they need somebody to help Wemby get a little bit more going, they got one of the best facilitators and playmakers in the world and in NBA history in Chris Paul. They got a young playmate to go with him in terms of Stephon Castle. They got a veteran presence in Harrison Barnes. Jeremy Sohan is playing well this season. If they just can get another piece, maybe two, then I think the Spurs really have the chance to kind of put themselves, not saying in that Warriors, Thunder, Suns tier of teams in the West, but very much a threat in the playoffs and maybe the play-in, depending on certain things. But we had a KD type game from Wemby. I do want to see when is he going to like signify like, oh, this is my play style? Because there are games where he becomes Embiid, there are games that he becomes Giannis, and then there are games where he becomes KD in terms of shot attempts, not so much in terms of result, because he hasn't had the most efficient start to the season, but obviously he had a great one last night. But if he sticks with this, then we are just scratching the surface with this guy and the abilities that he has. And that is scary. No doubt about it. So, love Wemby. He's a freak. Final game I'll cover from Wednesday night, and I'll get a little bit more into a specific player in this game in a little bit. But Lakers, Grizzlies. LeBron James, how do I put this? Oh, you're pretty damn good. 35 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists. He got his third straight game with a triple-double. Actually broke the record for oldest player ever with 3 straight triple-doubles. 3 straight games with triple-doubles. He broke his own record. Yeah. LeBron set the record, I think, in his first season with the Lakers when he was like 34, and it was like 300 something days old, and the person who had it previous was Jason Kidd at 34 and like 200 days old. LeBron is 39 and he is willing teams to victory. I do love the philosophy still from JJ Redick. I understand like people are going to look at net ratings and in terms of just like total numbers, like it may say like the Clippers or the Lakers aren't really totally improving, which I think is just like not always the best thing to do, which I know somebody's going to say, well, that's what you do. And I'm going to be like, well, I also watch a good amount of basketball. I watched like 4 or 5 games last night and like highlights of them. So don't shoot the messenger. But like when the Lakers play through AD, it really does make their offense a lot more cohesive and a lot more coherent in terms of it allows LeBron to not really have this pressure of saying like, all right, I need to go get 30 tonight. Like he didn't have AD the last time they played the Grizzlies and he had like 37. He had 35, 12, and 14 tonight. Why? Because while AD was out there, he wasn't really like crazy effective until like the fourth quarter when he hit like a couple big threes and ended up with like 20 something points. But LeBron is LeBron. And he is still one of the best players in the world. He will be until he retires. And to see him do the things that he does is ridiculous. I'll talk about him a little bit more in the Instagram questions because I know people are asking. But what I will say is the real reason the Los Angeles Lakers beat the Grizzlies last night was because of a young man out of Tennessee named Dalton Knecht. I really question NBA GMs and how did they let Dalton Knecht to go to the Lakers? The reason I say that is because I feel like a lot of the times when it comes to a prospect in the NBA, a lot of the times they choose somebody who they believe the potential is there, or it's like a growing potential. Like Wemby was a special case because it's like you're going to obviously take the 7'4" French guy who can shoot really well and everything like that. Knecht, I think, went 17th or 16th or something. How did he fall that far? I don't know. The guy averaged like 23 or 24 in college in SEC basketball. We're not talking about a mid-major who is this guy who has like a ton of shots. He is the main guy on a nationally ranked team who ended up being like a 2 seed in the tournament, brought him all the way to the Elite 8. The only reason that they lost was because nobody else on his team could make a shot, and they were also playing Zach Edey, the National Player of the Year. So make it make sense where that guy who probably scored 30 in that game and said, yeah, I don't know. He's a little bit too old for me. He's 22. He's going to play on your team for the next 4 years guaranteed. And then also, when the second contract rolls around, he's going to be 24, 25, 26. Like, what are we doing? Who let JJ Redick, one of the most prolific shooters in NBA history, get a quirked up white boy who can do that? Prolifically shoot pretty well. Dalton Knecht off the bench, 19 points, 87.5% from the field, 6 to 7 shooting with 5 threes on 5 attempts. That is really good. Dalton Knecht, when he gets in his rhythm, he has the opportunity to be a flamethrower. We saw that in the preseason game against the Suns, and we saw it last night. When he gets more opportunities and has the shots that D'Lo is taking, then the Lakers are going to skyrocket. I love Dalton Knecht, so I think that's why I'm kind of ranting. But shout out to the Grizzlies, man. They really kept this game close. I think let me check what the final was. I want to say the Lakers didn't win by a ton. They only won by 5. Okay. So yeah, only won by 5. But Jaren Jackson Jr. had a really great game, 29 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. Zach Edey played well, 12 points, 8 rebounds. Scottie Pippen Jr., who very much is a candidate for most improved player, talked about how he had this game circled for very good reason, because he was doubted by a lot of Lakers coaches. 15 points, 3 assists, 3 boards, 3 steals, and a block. Just that's what's kind of shocking about the Grizzlies. Like, obviously, Ja is the best player on that team, and Desmond Bane is probably number 2 or 2A, 2B, depending on how you view with Jaren Jackson. But to be in a game like this, where you play very well defensively on Anthony Davis, sure, LeBron gets 35, but it's like asking to tackle Derrick Henry for a tackle for loss. It's pretty difficult, yet impossible. And they needed that shooting night from Dalton Connect, or else the Lakers probably lose that game, who are now 6-0 at home for the first time since 1999 when Kurt Rambis was their coach. But it's the versatility of the Grizzlies that has really surprised me. Jalen Wells has really stepped up, especially as a young rookie. Jake LaRavia, very effective from the outside. Marcus Smart, veteran presence for that team. Luke Kennard went 4 for 4 from 3 last night. And it is these little things that are really like showing that this team has a lot of potential, and they are going to be a threat in the West. They aren't backing down from anybody. They can go into a game shorthanded and say, we are going to give you our best. If you don't give us your best, you are going to be sorry, and you're going to end up on the losing end. So shout out to the Grizzlies, man. Really good ball club, really good team. Very intrigued to see how the rest of their season will go. Brandon Clark, he another one who needs to come back with health. So, but yeah. One game on the Thursday night slate between the Jazz and the Mavs. When I wrote down this matchup, I wrote down JASS by accident, Jazz, because that's what the Utah Jazz are, just a huge pile of ass. I know Kyrie is questionable, but I'm sure he'll play, right? Like, he's gotta. Mavericks are traveling into Utah, and it's just, I think, like, Doncic is going to have a crazy game, like he will, because why not? He's going to take advantage of, like, a Walker Kessler mismatch, and then, like, also having Keontae George on him. The Jazz are really trying to get Cooper Flag, or they're just trying to get, like, a top pick, and it's going to be tough to see. Like, I just think if when you have a team like the Mavs, who are very much like had a crushing ending to the season last year, losing to the Celtics in 5 in the NBA Finals, you very much have this redemption that you are pursuing. And you can tell from Luka and Kyrie, Kyrie has been the better player out of the two so far, I'd say. But still early. Like, I'm not saying like Luka sucks. I'm just saying, like, and I think and also I guess I'll kind of just, what I meant with episode 2, when I was like the 2 weeks in kind of thing, it wasn't so much me pointing out either good or bad players. It was more so surprising things. Like, the shot attempts total that Luka has is like within the 20s. He's not scoring 26, 27 points a night on like 15 to 20 shots. He's taking like 24 to 28 shots a game and not doing it efficiently. So that's where I kind of was like, oh, that's a surprise. But I think this could be a rhythm game for him. I think Klay Thompson has a very good game again. I think Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, I just think they have a much better team than the Jazz. And I'm going to go with a shocking pick here. I think the Mavs will win. Wow. Who would have thought? Playing against one of the worst teams in the league, I'm going to take the favorite. Huh. Wouldn't have guessed that one. All right. Instagram questions. I appreciate all the questions. I'm going to answer them all. Again, reminder for those who may not know, I record these episodes on Mondays and Thursdays. I put out a little questionnaire box on Sundays and Wednesdays for the upcoming episode. So if you have a question, please DM me or wait for that, and I will be sure to answer it for you in the episode, or maybe a blog. Again, triplethreattalk.com with hyphens in between triple threat and threat talk. Anyway, it's in the bio of my Instagram. First question, Ben Britton. What do you think of Dyson Daniels' most improved case? Very, very plausible. First off, Ben, thank you for the question. Great question. Very much a case as well for Defensive Player of the Year. And I know a lot of it, I'm kind of going off of counting numbers almost, but I think he's had like 3 straight games with 4+ steals. Like, Dyson Daniels has been a problem on the defensive end in terms of causing a lot of issues for opposing players right now. Like, he is really crushing it, and averaging 7.4 deflections per game. He's one of the most prolific defensive playmakers in the NBA to start the season. He has great length, great anticipation, explosiveness, coordination. He understands the defensive side of the ball, dare I say, just as well, if not better, than prime Jrue Holiday. Like, he is up there. It is awesome to see. Dyson Daniels is deserving of his flowers, and he is getting them. I think he had like 7 steals against the Celtics, or like 6 steals against the Celtics. He has incredible length. He is not somebody that is like easy. Like, sure, there's a lot of stuff where you hear like, oh, they're a really good defender because of their numbers. That's what made Jrue so effective. It wasn't just the numbers. It was the fact that he was able to do it so well in like against other matchups and everything like that. But Dyson Daniels last 4 games, 6 steals, 6 steals, 7 steals, 4 steals. That is crazy. Like, when was the last time we saw somebody with 23 steals over 4 games? Like, oh my Lord. Dyson Daniels is really making a case for himself, not only just in terms of proving to New Orleans, like, hey, you made the wrong move to trade me over somebody else in this locker room, but he is really like stepping it up on the offensive end as well. Like, he had 28 points against Boston. He had 16 points against the Bulls, 18 against Detroit. If he's able to develop his shooting to a really effective manner, then I would be really, really excited to see like where he's going. Now, in regards to the most improved case, I do think he is very much up there. I do kind of have to, let me check. I am kind of curious on one thing, because I feel like this is where, especially with most improved, kind of gets a little dicey when you kind of talk about like who deserves it and everything like that. Okay, so he has played, this is his 3rd season. I think this is a huge, like, I think this is a valid person to win it. I know Wemby was like the most, like, the favorite to win the award. I don't think it should go to anybody in their 2nd year, because that's just saying, okay, you went through a season in the NBA, you understand the pace, you understand the lay of the land, you understand what you need to do. It should go to 3rd or 4th year or later. I think the biggest contenders are, I think it's kind of like a 2-horse race right now, right now in between Dyson Daniels and Norman Powell. Norman Powell purely because he just has the more opportunity. I just think it's going to regress a little bit more when Kawhi comes back, because obviously like Norman Powell is scoring like 26 points per game, and it's not going to really maintain when Kawhi comes back. But Dyson Daniels going from 5.8 points per game all the way up to 14.3. He isn't shooting the 3 ball as well. He's shooting much better from the field, about 2-3% better. Grabbing more rebounds, getting more assists, but most importantly, he is getting a lot more steals. He is averaging 3.6 steals per game this season so far. That is great to see. If he can get those offensive numbers going a little bit more, then I think he really might have a case to be the favorite. I think right now it's Norman Powell, but I also think he is going to draw back some, and I think Dyson Daniels might have a chance to, really step into that conversation. I did mention I think the Hawks have a bright future. Having Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu, Zachary Ricochet, who I know hasn't had the best start to the season, but still valuable asset. And then also, I think it's Bogdanovich. Let me check. Bogdan Bogdanovich. Huge part, great shooter for the Hawks. I think the Hawks should really make something here. It's just they got to let time happen. They got to let things develop. But Dyson Daniels has been a huge part to their success so far. My boy Nicky Cutler. Nick, what's up? Hope you're well. Who's winning the in-season tournament? I had the Celtics in the last episode. I know. I think it's just going to be really tough for them to sweep the rest of the way. They have to beat a Cleveland team at home, which very good that the matchup is at home, but then they have to beat the Bulls and then beat the Wizards, I think, on the road, like big, in order for them to kind of have a chance. Because what I like about the in-season tournament is it's like you're not completely out of it if you lose a game. If you're able to beat the other teams big, then it's like, okay, we can use point differential to kind of really set us apart here. Like, obviously other teams and other groups are going to have one loss. Like not everybody in each group is going to be 4-0 at the end of it. There's going to be probably like one or two, but obviously each group gets one automatic bid and then it's a wild card for the rest of the other teams. So I think the Celtics could be in a tough spot, but I think if the Cavs are able to pull away from this group, then I think they have the best shot coming out of the East. But I think it might be the Nuggets. I just think the Nuggets are really finding their effectiveness. I think they might even get Aaron Gordon back in time, depending on when the championship would be. But I think that's what I love so much about the in-season tournament is you don't really know. Like, I don't think anybody would have predicted that the Pacers would have been in the championship last season, or like the Lakers would have been in the championship last season of the in-season tournament. It very much is who's hot, who's not. But I think I do still hold out hope for the Celtics. It's just going to be tough because they won't get a home matchup unless somehow like the Cavs lose to anybody other than the Celtics. Like maybe I'm not totally sure, but it should be pretty interesting to see, no doubt about it. But if the Celtics make it into the next round, then I think it will be the Celtics. If not, then I think it will be like Cavs versus either the Warriors versus, I think it will be Cavs versus either the Warriors or the Nuggets. I'm going to go with you know what? Cavs Warriors. I think the Warriors would win that. Warriors. I think the Warriors would win that matchup between those two. A little throwback to the 2010s. Next question. Prime time Peter Durrell. My boy PT. Most memorable fan experience. I'm going to give you two. I think it's pretty easy to say like your first ever Celtics game. Both of them are going to be Celtics games because it's easily been actually no, I'll give three. They're two Celtics games and one non-Celtic game. The first ever Celtic game I went to was Game 6, 2010 Eastern Conference Finals between the Cavs and the Celtics. It was LeBron's final game in a Cavs uniform before he went to the Heat. I literally saw him get off the bench and walk towards the tunnel and like taking off his jersey and everything. And I was like, oh my God, we did it. Like I was terrified of LeBron. I thought he was like a superhuman. And I was like, oh my God, the Celtics did it. They beat LeBron. Like, we're going to win it all. Ended up getting my heart ripped out in game 7 of that finals. So I'd say that was memorable just because it was my first one. In terms of a recent Celtics game, I'll go game 6, coincidentally enough, game 6 Eastern Conference Finals 2022 when we played Miami. I went with my good friend Andy Doherty, Kitty Clyde. He and my dad got, shout out Big Mike, my dad got me and Andy tickets for an early birthday present of mine. Unfortunately, the Celtics lost, but it was just one of the best atmospheres I've ever been at for a Celtics game. But what made it extra memorable was, you know how whenever you go on like a trip or like go on go to an event or something, it's always, you always have your parent be like, hey, like call me or text me if you need anything. Like if you get like need a ride or something, let me know. It's always like a precautionary. Unfortunately, the precautionary became the actual necessity. Andy and I parked at Riverside on the Green Line, and well, at Washington or at Government Square or Government Center, the train broke down. So we ended up sitting on the train for like 40 minutes and just dying of sweat. And that sucked. So then we ended up walking on the train tracks, got to Government Center, like outside of the station. And I called my dad, who was asleep, and he wakes up and it's like, yeah, what's up? And I'm like, hey, remember that whole like, like if you need a ride, like let me know. And he's like, oh God, where are you? And I told him Government Center, drove us all the way to Riverside so I could get my car and not have to worry about overpaying on parking. That was a very memorable one. And then non-Celtics, I went to a Grizzlies Nuggets game last season. Got to watch Jokic play in like prime Jokic form. Just awesome to watch him play. But of course, I'm going to tie it back to the Celtics. It was the same night as the Pistons Celtics game when the Pistons were on like their massive losing streak and they almost beat the Celtics. And I was with my cousin Jack, and we were watching it. Or he had YouTube TV on his phone, and so I was able to watch it. And I was like so amped. I was like, yeah, Celtics won and everything. And then I was like, all right, now I can like not really stress about the game as much. Like I just got to watch the Nuggets and Grizzlies play. It was a great game to watch. So yeah, Sam Lytle. What up, Sam? Why are the Hawks better without Trae Young? I think a lot of it has to do with, and it's kind of the same way with the Hornets. It's very much like LaMelo and Trae Young are ball magnet players. They very much are most effective when they have the ball in their hands. They aren't like a Curry where they move very effectively off the ball and are able to use that catch and shoot factor. They very much are like a just a team that is going to like give it to Trae Young, who's their most experienced, most veteran player in terms of that offense and also just being under Quinn Snyder. But I think a lot of it also is just he's a extreme liability on defense. He's not very good defensively. He doesn't really have the on-ball skills, and obviously doesn't have the size to be a very good like switch matchup in a pick and roll, and also just gets bodied by a lot of bigger guards and everything. And so I feel like that is a part of it. But I think with the Hawks against the Celtics on Tuesday, the Hawks just like couldn't miss. I think it was the first time Larry Nance Jr. ever had a game where he had 5 3-point makes in a single game. And I think he only did that once last season where he only had one game last season where he had made 4. So you very much are going to have like those outlier games. Greg Popovich puts it best. There are going to be 10 games that you're going to get blown out by, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. There's going to be 10 games that you are the best team in the world, and there's going to be nothing that the opponent can do to stop it. It's what you do with the other 60. And I think the Celtics just ran into a case of one of those 10. Extremely unlucky, the Tatum shot at the end, but the Hawks are a lot better of a team than people are going to give credit for. Jalen Johnson is a rising star in this league. As I just talked about with Ben's question, Dyson Daniels is an incredibly effective player on the defensive end, and if he can turn that into the offense that it's projected to be, he's going to be one of the best players in the league. Onyeka Okongwu was hitting his shots. Larry Nance Jr. off the bench was great for them. They just have a lot of guys who are pretty scrappy and want to do their best to play for the team. And as much as it sucked to see the Celtics lose, it's always great to watch good basketball, and that's what we got. Do I think the Hawks make the playoffs this year? No. But also, they could, because it's like the Eastern Conference sucks, so you never know. Brian Tevlin, two-time national champion, former captain at Notre Dame, bagpipe player. Shout out Brian. Don't say I'm glazing, okay? Chill. Go Redwoods. LeBron playing absurd. LeBron is playing absurd at 40. If you hate it or if you love it or hate it, doesn't matter. If you're the Lakers, how do you balance continuing to build with him versus thinking of the future? Brian, that's a great question. Let me give you some insight. You can't hate on LeBron. There's nothing that he's done. Like, the only thing you can hate LeBron on is what he has done on the basketball court. Sure, losing in Miami against the Mavericks wasn't great. The 2 times he's been swept in the finals isn't a great look for him. But beyond that, most points all time, one of the most effective players in NBA history. And he still looks like a 30-something-year-old still looks like early 30s when he is about to be 40 in December. He is one of the best players in the league. He has been for the past 20-something seasons. He's a 20-time all NBA player. There is no denying that LeBron is inevitable. He just, when you think of the 2000s, you think of a couple players. You think of Kobe, you think of AI, you can think of Tim Duncan and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, and by 2000s, I mean 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, Giannis. But there's only one consistent in all 3 of those. And that is a man by LeBron Ramon James. He is the best player of all time, in my opinion. He doesn't have the best peak of all time. I think that's Jordan from 90 to 93. Shout out the guy I got into a Instagram argument in my captions on a video of mine. But, it's just Father Time is he isn't getting to LeBron, and it's pretty remarkable to see. What do I think what do I think about their future? I think you kind of have to continue to build right now, especially when you have LeBron under contract, you have Anthony Davis under contract. You have 2 top 15 players in the world. You kind of almost have to build around them and kind of give like this final glimpse at hope. Do I think they win it? No, I just think a lot of it is the pieces beyond them. Like, it very much is like you have to have a star player, preferably 2, and then just balance around them. I think Rui Hachimura provides balance. I think Dalton Connect and Austin Reeves provides balance. D'Lo doesn't. Gabe Vincent doesn't. Max Christie doesn't. I just think there are too many question mark pieces on the Lakers right now to where I can comfortably say, like, I think that they have a chance to like really make a push in regards to like with their current team. Do I think that they could make a push? Absolutely, 100%. I just don't think they have enough to do so. And I'm also currently looking up their upcoming draft picks just to make sure what they have. So 2023 first round pick, the Pelicans have the right to swap picks. 2024 first round pick owned by the Pelicans and have the rights to receive the 2025 pick instead. They own the 2025 pick, but the Pelicans have the rights to the pick if they forego the 2024 pick, which I don't really remember. And then after that, they own them all the way through 2030. So in reality, they're a much better spot than like somebody like the Suns or the Bucks, who don't really have a pick until like 2031, or at least their own first round pick until 2031. So I think with them, it very much is just like, what does LeBron want to do? You're gonna have AD there for a little bit more time, and then it's just, you kind of almost have to reset. Like after that, like LA is a big market team, no doubt about it. They're a strong team, but I think it's just going to be like, I think right now you try and continue to build for a championship. But then it's like, as soon as LeBron retires, then you say, okay, what can we do to get a future going? Like, they obviously aren't going to be getting Cooper Flag. They aren't going to be getting really a top 10 pick this season. I don't even know if they have their pick this season. I think, honestly, let's check Tankathon and see if the NBA, see if it says about the Lakers pick. Actually, Atlanta has it. Oh, so Atlanta got that in the trade with the Pelicans. Yep. That's how Atlanta got it, with in the Dyson Daniels trade for DeJounte Murray. Okay, so it's Atlanta's pick. It's not very good for the Lakers. So yeah, you're very much in a win now mode, and then you're gonna try and react after that. So that's great question, Brian. Thank you. Final Instagram question, Zach Rosenthal. Best player on the Knicks now and best all time. Right now, I kind of want to say Cat. I kind of want to say Karl Anthony Towns. Hold on, I need some water. I'd say Karl Anthony Towns is their biggest difference maker in regards to winning. He stretches the floor for them so well. He provides great offense, at times lackluster defense, but once you get Mitchell Robinson back, I think that kind of gets resolved. And that will make a lot less pressure on him. But I think you could say Brunson, but I think Brunson might be their best player, but in terms of impactful and like most important for the team's success, I think it's Karl Anthony Towns. Best all time, I think there are a couple. You can go Patrick Ewing because of just like the impact he's had on that team. You could say Willis Reed for the old heads, but am I crazy for saying Melo? I'm not talking LaMelo. When I think Melo, I think of Carmelo Anthony. Like, he really was like on a mission with that team in like the early 2010s. Unfortunately, it didn't work for him. They just didn't have a ton of pieces around him. But I think, yeah, I'll go Melo. Just one of the best scorers of all time. I think Ewing is a close second, and I know depending on the fan, they'll say Ewing, but in terms of my watching of the Knicks, it's either like I was watching like prime Linsanity and Melo and everything. So, but shout out Steve Novak though. That's a shooter for you. Appreciate all the Instagram questions. Oh, and hope that answers your question, Mr. Rosenthal. NBA Cup Friday. We have 12? 12 games. Who knew? I didn't even realize that. We're going to go through each. We're going to go through the spreads, what I think you should take, and why. Not crazy in depth, but yeah. So first game, Heat at Pacers. I think you should take the Pacers. I think the Heat will be without Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo has not played up to the level that he should have, and Tyler Hero is on a career year, but he isn't a consistent 40 point per game scorer like he was the other night in Minnesota. I just think the Pacers have too much offense. Benedict Mathurin, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, Tyrese, who I know has had a shaky year so far, but I just think those guys are too much for the Heat. I would take the points for the Pacers at -3. I just think it's a little bit too much for I don't know. I think the Pacers are going to win this game by like 8 or 9. But again, just my advice. Philly at Orlando, with Philly in favor with a -3 spread. Depends on, let's see if it's confirmed or something. If 76ers versus Orlando Magic. I don't know if Embiid and Paul George are going to play. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I think Orlando Magic are going to win. Embiid looked really sloppy. I think he might break out this game because he doesn't have that formidable of a matchup against him, but he just isn't moving well. He isn't really playing well. Paul George hasn't really had that great of a season so far, and they're still without Tyrese Maxey. So you're going to be asking a lot from Jared McCain, Andre Drummond, Caleb Martin. Fuck Caleb Martin. Kidding. Actually, no, I'm not. So I think the Magic might pull that one out. And I think Franz Wagner has been playing great. Mo Wagner has been playing great. Jalen Suggs has been playing up to a level that he needs to. And yeah, I think the Magic might pull away with that one. Detroit at Toronto. Toronto's favored by 2.5. Don't listen to that. Toronto sucks. They're without Scotty Barnes. They are not very good. RJ Barrett has played well for them, but they aren't one of the worst teams in the league. Actually, the worst team in the league with a 2-10 record. I would take Detroit. Detroit, I think, finally is getting a game where not as much pressure, not as tough of an opponent. And I think Detroit is a really talented team. If they have Isaiah Stewart, if they have Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey are one of the best backcourt duos in terms of like a young backcourt duo in the NBA. So I very much would not be surprised if Detroit not only covers but wins that game. So I would be taking Detroit in that one. Washington at Atlanta. Let's see. Is Trae Young going to be playing? If not, honestly, doesn't really change up my thoughts on the game. Versus Wizards. Let us check. It does not say yet. Let me get to it. Okay. Trae Young. Doesn't even say. That's interesting. Actually, no, I don't need to look at this. Washington and Atlanta. Give me Atlanta. At Atlanta, they have a -5. Sure, I think Bilal and Jordan Poole are going to have a great game. But honestly, actually, I don't even know if Jordan Poole will have a great game because Dyson Daniels is going to be on his ass. Pause. Anyway, I just think especially if Trae Young is playing, I think the Hawks are a better team than they are on paper, than their record will show. They obviously just beat the Boston Celtics. So I'm going to ride the hot hand and say the Atlanta Hawks are going to beat the Washington Wizards at home. Chicago versus Cavs in Cleveland. Yeah, give me the Cavs. They're 13-0. I really hope they get to 15-0 and then they play in Boston next Tuesday. So I just don't think Chicago has enough to stop them. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley have really taken a step forward this season, but Darius Garland has been the X factor for the Cleveland Cavaliers and will help them propel to a win in this game. But I'd maybe take Chicago to cover the spread of 9.5. So just my thought. Nets at Knicks. Nets are a lot better than people want to give them credit for. They just played Celtics really tough for 3 quarters, and in the fourth quarter they fell apart. But I think the Knicks are gonna really win. I think the Knicks are gonna win this one. I know this is the first of like not really a back-to-back, but a weekend where the Nets go to the Knicks on Friday, and then same thing on Sunday. I think the Knicks will win this one on Friday night. -11 though for a spread is quite a lot. So do with that info that you will. But I got the Knicks. Lakers at Spurs. It's the Lakers. Big win against the Grizzlies. They're going into San Antonio against a lesser opponent. And I think AD is one of the best defenders on Wemby. And beyond Wemby, you don't really got much from the Spurs. So I'm going to go with the Lakers in this one, and I would take the spread of -2. Clippers at Houston. Houston is one of the best defensive teams in the league. They're third in defensive rating. Amen Thompson is ridiculously good. Like the clip of hit, like he moves incredibly well for his size. Tari Eason is incredibly underrated. Alperen Şengün, GOAT, really good player this year. Jalen Green, if he is shooting well, he is one of the best players in the world. So I'm going to go with the Rockets, cover the spread of -4. I think that'll be a pretty interesting one to see. I would definitely keep my eye on that one. Nuggets at Pelicans in New Orleans. Denver favored by 8.5. It's the Nuggets. The Nuggets are going to win. I don't know if they'll cover, but 8.5 is too many points, or is a lot of points, in my opinion. And the Nuggets have Nikola Jokic. They have the best player in the world. Jamal Murray is back. Michael Porter Jr. is back. Christian Brown has continued to play well. If Russ has a pretty good game, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just the Pelicans have too many injuries. I think it's Yves Missy gets to guard Nikola Jokic as a rookie. So good luck to him because he's going to need it. So I got the Nuggets in that one. Suns at Thunder. -7 for the Thunder. This would have been game of the night if it wasn't for injuries. KD is out, I know, for the Suns, but they still have Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. I don't know if Yusuf Nurkic is healthy or not. If he is or isn't, I still would take the Thunder. The Thunder at home look like a really good team this season. My only concern for them, obviously, is height. Actually, now that I think about it, is Yusuf Nurkic playing? Because that actually might really matter. Let's check. Yusuf Nurkic, short term. He will miss the Jazz game. I know that just happened, though. Let's check. It doesn't say directly, at least. And also, my computer's rather slow right now because of this recording. But we're going to presume that he is. Doesn't matter. I would take the Thunder because of how just good their defense is. I would actually take the points on that one. Grizzlies at Warriors. This is a great matchup. This is my... Actually... No, that's the next game. Grizzlies Warriors, great matchup. I got the Warriors though. They're unreal at home. Love the tribute though to Klay Thompson and the captain's hat. It's just if the Grizzlies had Ja, then I would speak differently. But unfortunately, they don't. I don't think they will. So give me the Warriors in the Bay. But I would take the Grizzlies to cover the 8.5. That's just my opinion, though. Game of the night. There it is. Game of the night alert. Timberwolves at Sacramento. The Wolves have lost 2 straight to the Blazers in Portland. That is not good. They're going to be going into a Sacramento team that is clicking. I don't know. I know DeMar got hurt, but let me take a look. DeMar DeRozan gets a hopeful NBA Cup injury update. Let us take a look. He left with the game with a back injury. I think the bad news is that DeRozan's injury has left his status up in the air for the Kings' first NBA Cup game this season. So I think I'll probably take the Kings no matter what. It's just, I think that they have a very good balance on their side of the ball. One of the better offenses in the league with De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis. And I think the Wolves have lost 3 straight. Yeah. They lost a really bad game against the Heat. Just a big mental error and just not very good out of bounds defense. And then 2 straight losses to the Portland Trailblazers, who are trying to lose basketball games. So shout out the Blazers for getting some dubs. But I'm going to take the Kings to cover the spread of -1. So just to let me reiterate. Pacers, Orlando, Detroit, Atlanta, Cleveland, New York Knicks, Lakers, Rockets, Rockets, Nuggets, Thunder, Warriors, Sacramento. Those are my picks. Again, I I like watching ball. I know some ball. Will I be 100% correct? No. If I am, you owe me $5. Boom. How about that? That we have an agreement? Cool. Yeah, that's today's episode. I appreciate you all. Little sneak peek next week. We're going to be having our first guest. I will keep that anonymous for now. That person knows who he is, but I think we're going to start getting some people on. DM me, text me if you have my number, or DM me on Talking Triple, either on Instagram or Twitter. Find me on YouTube at Triple Threat Talk Podcast. Triple Threat Talk Podcast. If you do want to be a guest, text me or DM me. Love you all. And today's player will be Eddie Curry. Shout out Eddie Curry. I hope you all have a great weekend. Hope you enjoy Mike Tyson beating the shit out of Jake Paul. UFC 310 or 309. 309. Go John Jones. And have a great weekend. Love you all. Peace.